paid my dues, time after time. I've done my sentence, but committed no crime. And bad mistakes, I've made a few, not really, I've never made a mistake in my life. I've had my share of sand kicked in my face, and I've come through! Woo! Season 4 is finally over. And you know what that means? I never have to review another episode of My Little Pony for you stupid, autistic, retarded, perverted little monkeys ever again. Thanks for all the money, and I sincerely hope that you all kill yourselves. Screen, yoga! Well, now that my long curse is finally over, I guess I'll get caught up on everyone else's videos. Wonder what that fucking faggot Digibro is saying.
Hurricane Fluttershy is another in an ongoing series of Season 2 episodes which, while really good, have a straightforward appeal, meaning that my analysis will be short.
Honestly, just by writing about this episode, I'm probably going to inspire Drowning in Footwear to make a much longer and more detailed video about it, since it's his favorite episode of the show, so if you want to hear someone really get into the bones of it, you may have to count on that inevitability.
The most interesting aspect of this episode to me is how it continues the development of the Pegasus culture.
Just when I thought I was out, they pulled me back in.
Stand back! There's a hurricane coming through!
As much as I'd love to spend the next 80 hours of my life putting together a massive analytical masterpiece full of insightful intellectual critiques expertly interwoven with elaborately written meta-humor and jokes that work on multiple levels all tied together with a consistent theme that fits back into the episode in question, which inevitably will peter out at around 10,000 views, and which 90% of you morons will lack the mental and cognitive lucidity to understand or appreciate, the truth is that Digibro hit the nail on the head with this one. There's not a whole lot of depth to Hurricane Fluttershy. It's very straightforward and just generally a really good episode in every way, which is why I like it. Oh, I know it would be relatively easy for someone of my legendary and towering intellect to dig to the very depths of this episode and extract diamonds of truth and poignant wisdom, but the fact is Hurricane Fluttershy doesn't need or ask for it. It succeeds simply as a perfect example of all of this show's strengths. The kind of episode you could show to anyone and they would come away with an understanding of why this show is so cool. It hits every single beat and simply tells a good story about my favorite character. I can go into why I like it, but there's really nothing about it that needs to be explained or brought to light with any kind of hardcore analysis. This episode is charmingly straightforward and elegantly simple, so in keeping with that, I too will be going back to basics for this review. I won't be doing anything meta, or experimenting with any kind of weird gimmicks or format changes, or going on any unrelated tangents. This is just gonna be a regular old straightforward opinion piece. And it definitely won't be 24 and a half minutes long. For a long time, I would have called this my favorite episode in the series. I don't know if I can still call it my absolute favorite, but it's definitely still up there. Honestly, Season 4 was so good and had so many 5-star episodes like Pinky Apple Pie, Pinky Pride, Maud Pie, Philly Vanilli, Testing.
Pinkie Pie was out of character in Philly Vanilli.
No, she wasn't. You fucking imbeciles. You don't know what out of character means. You're not smart. Go away. Take a long look in the mirror and commit suicide, please. Kill yourself. Die. Do it. Now let's talk about Fluttershy. He's my favorite. Fluttershy is a character who I feel is often misunderstood and unjustly disliked by the fandom, along with Rainbow Dash, and Applejack, and Rarity, and Pinkie Pie, and Twilight Sparkle. Jesus Christ, bronies really don't understand anything, do they? Do you?
But Fluttershy never learns anything.
Will you shut up?
I can understand why a lot of this show's fan base has trouble empathizing with a character like Rainbow Dash. 1, because they're too autistic to empathize with anyone, and 2, Rainbow's personality and personal struggles are very far removed from that of the average introverted man-child. I mean, come on. How many of you bronies out there can really relate to being good at something, let alone being the best? I mean, let's be honest, you don't have ambition, you don't have talent. If you did, I'd be watching your video, instead of you sitting there hunched over on your Cheeto-stained shrivel chairs watching people better than you and trying to type out a semi-literate attempt at putting yourself over in the comment section with the one hand not shoved down your pants. So, I can understand why a character like Rainbow Dash, being as talented, confident, driven as she is often misunderstood by fans as bitchy, or insensitive, or aggressive, or egotistical. But the fact is, she only appears that way because she knows who she wants to be and she's motivated, not just for herself, but for those around her, those she cares about. She wants her friends to push themselves and achieve just as much as she wants that for herself. Duh. But you would think that those fans would at least be able to relate to and understand Fluttershy's struggles of social incompetence, anxiety, and introversion. After all, she's exactly like most bronies. Well, not exactly like most bronies. She's kind and sincere and intelligent and graceful and has a job and a passion and a talent and friends. But nonetheless, anybody can relate to Fluttershy's flaws pretty easily. I mean, most people have experienced awkwardness or social anxiety at some point, and for a while, that did make Fluttershy a very popular character. Be honest, regardless of who's your favorite pony now, Fluttershy was the reason you started watching this show. In the beginning, she was everyone's favorite. She was the cutest, she had the funniest and most memorable moments and lines, and if you don't believe that, just think about how much of the early fan-made material revolves around her, or how many 5-second YouTube clips there are of Fluttershy just saying a line or making a noise that made everyone squee.
Hop, skip.
She's an evil enchantress.
Woohoo! I'm the world champ, you know. I'd like to be a tree. Yay. Yay. A tree. A tree. Yay. Yay. Yay.
But after a certain point, the pendulum seemed to swing the other way, and more people began expressing disdain for certain characters, including poor, innocent Fluttershy. Probably because after a certain point, all of the normal people who called themselves bronies as a fad in the beginning were all beginning to move on to the next fad and leaving behind only the most hardcore audience, the real bronies, who all have severe Asperger's and are clinically insane. You know, anytime someone claims to vehemently hate one of the main six due to perceived nagging character imperfections, I have to wonder if what they're really looking at is a mirror to their own imperfections. You'd think that would make one more sympathetic towards the character, but some people just can't stand to face themselves. And that's sad, because if that's the case, how can they ever learn any lessons about friendship?
But every Fluttershy episode is the same. She just learns the same lessons over and over again.
Isn't that cute? But it's wrong!
Now don't worry, I am going to do you the favor of explaining to you why you are wrong. Fluttershy has not learned the same lesson over and over. That is a misconception. And if you honestly think that any of the main characters on this show are suffering from a lack of development at this point, well then you're just a big fucking idiot and there's no nice way I can put that. And to prove my point, let's take a look back at all of the Fluttershy-centric episodes thus far. The very first episode to focus on Fluttershy was Dragonshy, but that episode was not about Fluttershy learning a lesson. It was about Twilight and the others learning not to lose faith in their friends. She underestimated Fluttershy's devotion to her friends and her ability to be an asset to the team. They all did. We, the audience, also learned for the first time that Fluttershy can be assertive when it really matters, such as when her friends are in danger. Then there's the Stairmaster, where Fluttershy learns that you should threaten children to get them to behave, I guess. And also, not to bite off more children than you can chew. I don't know, whatever. Next is Green Isn't Your Color, where Fluttershy got roped by Rarity into being a fashion model, despite not being comfortable with it. The lesson Fluttershy learns in this episode is...
Being a good friend means being able to keep a secret, but you should never be afraid to share your true feelings with a good friend.
Fluttershy didn't want to disappoint Rarity by telling her she hated modeling. Meanwhile, Rarity doesn't want to disappoint Fluttershy by telling her she doesn't want her to be a model. The lesson there is for Fluttershy and Rarity, who are both fearful of hurting their friends' feelings, to learn that their bond is strong enough to withstand the possibility of disappointing each other once in a while. Being friends with someone doesn't mean they never disappoint you, it just means you love them anyways. Just ask Spike, who in this episode begins a long tradition of being disappointed by Rarity. A Bird in the Hoof was about Fluttershy learning to check all of the facts of a situation before taking matters into her own hands, or hooves, or whatever. Putting Your Hoof Down was about Fluttershy learning to be assertive in her everyday life and stand up for herself without going overboard and becoming a real heel like yours truly. This is a bit different from how she asserted herself in Dragonshy, because in that situation she acted on instinct because her friends were in real danger, whereas this episode is more about learning to draw a line in the sand when it comes to more everyday situations. Hurricane Fluttershy is about Fluttershy believing in herself and learning that even though she isn't the best flyer, she's still capable of helping. Keep Calm and Flutter On, just like Dragonshy, wasn't about Fluttershy learning a lesson at all, but rather about reaffirming the value of her element. Instead of Fluttershy needing to learn anything, Twilight learned just how strong of an effect kindness can have, and Discord learned that he likes having people be nice to him. Philly Vanilli is about her learning not to let anxiety and fear stop her from doing something she loves, and the Breezies episode is about the dangers of coddling and learning that sometimes the best thing you can do for someone is to set them free. So, all of those conflicts stem pretty naturally from the core of her character, but they're not really the same at all. There's a lot of different angles you could approach a story about this character from, and I'm sure the well is still far from dry. Fluttershy has learned lessons and developed as a character pretty consistently, just not all at once, which is how it should be. Just look at how she is in her first appearance, and tell me she hasn't grown as a character since then. At this point in the series, even at her most meek and shy, she's not this socially crippled anymore. The real problem with Fluttershy is not so much with her or her characterization, as it is with the people criticizing it. Obviously, I can see that Fluttershy is perfect, but I know the rest of you need everything explained to you as though you were 5. Luckily, in my vast intellectual superiority and infinite wisdom, I just so happen to be a certified, tenured professor of common sense and critical thinking. Open your skulls and prepare for enlightenment, children. Hop on the magic school bus. People don't seem to understand as much as they think they do about certain personality types, and they understand even less about what they want. You say you want intricate, interesting, and realistic character development, but what you really want is pro wrestling character development. Quick character changes and 180s at the drop of a hat. You want a character to go, oh, wow, I learned my lesson about standing up for myself. I will never be meek, nervous, or shy again. I'm a totally different person. But real life doesn't work that way, and more importantly, introversion is not a personality flaw to be instantly overcome. It's a personality trait that has to be tempered, mastered, and worked around. It's a subtle difference, and believe me, I know that bronies don't understand subtlety, but there it is. Fluttershy's introversion is a part of the core of her character, and what makes her interesting, lovable, and relatable to people in the first place. It would be wrong of the show to suggest that she could or should just learn a lesson and wipe it away. Think of the lesson that sends to kids, that if they're shy, there's something wrong with them. If they're quiet and play by themselves, they need to be forced into playdates or something. I think kids hear enough of that shit as it is. With autism diagnosis on the rise, and everyone convinced they need to send their kids to fucking therapy nowadays, or load them up on drugs to stamp out any possible signs of uniqueness, I'd say it's more important than ever to let them know introversion is not a fucking disease. And while crippling shyness can be detrimental, it's not something a person can just expect to get over or push down and suddenly enjoy being the center of attention. Fluttershy has slowly come more out of her shell as the series has progressed, but not so much as to send the wrong message. One of this show's mission statements is to show friendship between different personality types, and demonstrate how each one is unique and special. It does this by showing that the character's strengths and weaknesses are often one and the same. Fluttershy's anxiety and shyness are what make her life difficult, but they're also what makes her so perceptive of other people's loneliness and suffering. It's why she understands the inherent importance of kindness, and why she's able to completely let go of her fears and anxieties when she needs to stand up for someone else. By definition, only the coward is capable of the highest heroism. The fact that Fluttershy remains at her core a shy character, while still being able to have good friends who care about her, sends a vital message. If you were a small child, or even an adult, who has trouble making friends or being around other people, and you saw Fluttershy making this slow progress, you'd relate to her, and you might be able to make that progress too. But if she just did a complete 180 and was suddenly the life of the party, that wouldn't teach anyone anything. It would just undermine the character and the spirit of the show, as well as the rules of proper storytelling for that matter. Growing as a person takes baby steps. They even blatantly spell that out for you in Philly Vanilli.
Baby steps, every pony.
What don't you fucking understand?
But it doesn't make sense for her to have stage fright.
Shut your fucking mouth! Shut the fuck up, you cunt! Shut it!
And that's my review of Hurricane Fluttershy. Oh shit, I forgot to actually talk about the episode. Even though this is thought of mainly as a Fluttershy episode, it's just as much a Rainbow Dash episode. Just a side note, I love the fact that these two are often paired together and seem to have known each other growing up. It's like they have this unspoken Pegasus bond between them, and their personalities are so diametrically opposed, it's fun to watch their relationship and speculate on their history together. Yeah, that's right. I have headcanons. Wanna fight about it? You know, you should be happy that I am analyzing this as deeply as I am right now, okay? Because I only signed up for 1 season, and I'm going above and beyond my contract right now, and I'm doing it for you, and also to line my pockets, but mostly for... The point is, you're welcome, okay? Hey, you don't want me to start drinking again, do you? Because I will. You don't want to make me start drinking. I'll pull the pin on this grenade anytime I want, and you don't want that. You don't want the footwear man, you don't want the horseshoe man, you can't handle the horseshoe man, okay? Keep that in mind. One of my favorite things about the writing in this show has always been the uniqueness of each character's relationship to each other. They're not a hive mind of best friends. Pinkie and Twilight are contentious. Pinkie and Rainbow goof off together. Rainbow and AJ are rivals. AJ and Rarity are playfully antagonistic. Rarity and Fluttershy have a very feminine, girlfriends kind of relationship, and Fluttershy and Rainbow Dash are Pegasisters, yo! Pegasus brothers. I don't like Pegasisters. It sounds icky. They're bros! This episode should have been called Bro-NATO. I always enjoy the hints that these two have a deeper bond than most of the main 6. It's one of my favorite aspects of both characters, which is a big part of why I like this episode so much, because it's not just a Fluttershy episode, it's also a Rainbow Dash episode. And I honestly think it's one of the best Rainbow Dash episodes. Imagine that, an episode that's not even explicitly focused on her and even has another character's name in the title. I love the way Rainbow Dash is written in this episode. It would have been so easy to write some cliche bullshit about Rainbow Dash being so blinded by competitiveness that she's just a total bitch and either completely neglects Fluttershy or pushes her too hard. But instead of making Rainbow an antagonist, they took the high road and wrote her as very conflicted. Rainbow Dash is never once mean to Fluttershy in this episode. She wants to break the record and she needs Fluttershy to be at her best, but she knows who Fluttershy is and why pushing her too much is a bad idea. Rainbow Dash in this episode is respectful. She respects Fluttershy and tries hard to curb her natural aggressiveness and not overstep her bounds. Despite how obsessed with winning she is, she cares immensely about her friend and doesn't lose sight of that. That is loyalty. It's a marvelous display of self-control, respect, and loyalty right there. But of course, bronies are fucking retarded and don't understand things that aren't shoved in their face, so Rainbow Dash is just a cunt who never lives up to her element. Ah, give me a fucking break, you idiots! God damn it, I hate you fucking people.
You know what, on second thought, maybe I could use a drink or two.
In a lot of ways, Rainbow Dash reminds me of myself in this episode, trying so hard to make Fluttershy better, just like I try so hard to make you idiotic bronies better, and running into a brick wall every time, just like I do, but also understanding that at a certain point, it's not her right to force that change on someone. Rainbow is walking a very fine line of loyalty in this episode between leaving Fluttershy to her own devices and pushing her to achieve. Going too far in either direction would be easy and would result in disaster. Staying in the middle is a much greater test of her loyalty to her friend. And in the end, it pays off, because Fluttershy recognizes that Rainbow Dash is trying her best, and in response pushes herself harder both for her friend and for herself. On to the little things that I liked about this episode. I love this great little Rocky send-up. It's just a really great, well-animated scene, and I remember it was the first time wing-ups were seen on this show. I remember thinking, well, I can officially say that I've seen a Pegasus do push-ups with its wings. I can die now. I also love how at the end, Fluttershy doesn't just become an amazing flyer overnight. Again, it would have been easy to write some hackneyed story where she triumphs and becomes awesome, but instead they made a point much more viable to real life. Fluttershy is never going to be the world's greatest flyer, but what matters is that she did everything she could and every little bit counts. Now there is one thing about this episode that I fucking hate, and it's a small thing, but it pisses me off and it takes me out of the episode every time I see it. The scene where Fluttershy is crying in the woods, listen to the soundbite they use. How lazy is that? That they couldn't just record some new crying sounds and instead used what is obviously the sound clip of Fluttershy saying her name at the beginning of the series. It's fucking horrible. And I don't even think this is the only time they've done that. Why that sound? Of all the sounds to reuse, why that one? It's so obvious she's saying her name. Who does that? Who says their name when they cry? Do you? Cause I cry 10 times a day before breakfast and I never once feel the need to remind myself what my name is.
I'm drowning in horseshoes. I'm drowning in horseshoes. I'm the horseshoe man. I am the horseshoe man. I am the horseshoe man. I am cold.
Hey guys, it's me. Just hanging out outside today. Felt like filming a little vlog. Felt like taking a walk outside. You know, I've been pretty busy lately with all this My Little Pony bullshit over on Drowning in Horseshoes channel. Look at that fucking water. It's beautiful. You know, this is what it's all about. I was actually going to film a review of a My Little Pony episode today, and I was gonna do it this morning, but I just... I woke up and I just couldn't do it. It's like, I looked outside and I saw the weather, and I watched that season finale, and I thought about, you know, fucking... It's fucking so beautiful out, man. And it's like, sometimes, it's like I had a choice today. It's like, yeah, I can stay cooped up in here and film this stupid review, and probably lose my fucking mind like I always do, and just go fucking crazy and just turn into a fucking animal. Or, I could fucking do what I want to do inside my heart and fucking go outside and feel the wind in my face for a fucking day. And thankfully, I chose to go outside. I chose the path of righteousness. I came outside. I came out of the fucking basement. It is too nice of a day to stay inside and drive myself crazy recording a fucking My Little Pony review. Jesus Christ.
Hey ya, 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 hey ya. Take off your clothes. Take off your pants.
What a refreshing walk in the park that was. Boy, do I feel... Ah! Cool Corona! What are you doing outside your tent?
I just wanted to be in a video. They never used me in any videos anymore.
Oh, horseman. What am I gonna do with you? You ruined my life.
I'm drowning in horseshoes.